Hello and welcome back to the channel. This week is a video that I'm pretty surprised I haven't done. Just a very simple ranking my eyeshadow palettes. How do I phrase this in like the least rude way possible? I own more eyeshadow palettes than you should, but in the space of beauty, I own less eyeshadow palettes than many of the people on this platform. And in this little, it's not even a niche anymore, but in this side of the internet of the beauty space. Sorry, I'm just prepping some of these palettes for fingerprints, getting rid of them. So I think how I'm going to do this is I'm gonna rank every individual palette on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being I can't live without it, 1 being I shouldn't have purchased it, or it'll be both. It'll be like 1 is I shouldn't have purchased it / it's not like a necessary part of doing makeup. I do have some PR items in here, so I think we are mostly cleaned of fingerprints now. Okay, this is my YouTube channel and I make up my own rules comes into play because I am not ranking my individual eyeshadows, but there are individual eyeshadows in palette formation. So technically it's in an eyeshadow palette. This is my channel. I make my own rules. If you don't like it, start your own channel. So without further ado, this one is very easy to start with. This is the Kaleidos. I have it all. I have its full legal name on the back here. 4-color diamond shimmer and matte eyeshadow palette in the shade 005 Venus Trap. This is a 1, baby. Starting off strong. I find that this palette is so redundant, and the bulk of it even is something that I've learned I really don't enjoy when it comes to these smaller eyeshadow palettes. Just because if I have something that is this big, I want there to be so many eyeshadows crammed into this space that it makes sense that it can start to take up room this way. I don't need it to take up this much space for only 4 basic eyeshadow colors. The sparkle is really, really pretty. This is just the sparkle shade. It's really, really pretty, but I purchased this at the same time that I was getting into the Cheer Yep palettes, which we will get into further in this video. And the sparkle payoff of the Kaleidos is the exact same as the Cheer Yep, and they're pretty much the same price, and I get way more product in a Cheer Yep palette. See what I'm saying here? See where I'm going? And the Cheer Yep palettes take up less space this way, flat. They're longer, but they're just flatter, so they just make more sense, and storing it up and down for storage, if you store it that way, because it's so tall, it's just, it's a 1. It's a 1. We gotta, come on, shut up, Claire. We gotta keep going. We have more palettes to talk about. Let's keep it going with cbeauty. This is the Noir Corn palette, which is a cbeauty brand. This one gets... Did I say this was PR? This was PR. I'm gonna give this one a 2 because I would not have purchased this out of my own volition. However, every time I've used this, it is really pretty. I've reached for it a surprising amount, but I'm only really reaching for it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 shades. So let's just call it 5. I'm only reaching, oh look, you can see all of this, wow. I'm only really reaching for it for 5 shades and in a 10 eyeshadow palette. That tells me that this isn't really a necessary palette for me. So I'm going to give it a 2. I'm gonna be pretty harsh and give it a 2. Asterisk, even though I am reaching for it, I'm reaching for it for very specific eyeshadows. That makes sense. We are getting into Cheer Yep. So for Cheer Yep, I have 2 palettes, and you're gonna call me a hypocrite, but this is the number 7 Closer palette. This specific one is, here you can see, it was like a collab palette with, you know, those little like blind box things There's just like a blind box for Dodonami, these like little, I have a whole dedicated videos on this. This palette, five, reach for it all the time. And this palette is the one that made me fully decide that this one is useless, because look at how many more shades you get in the Cheer Yep versus the Kaleidos for like the same amount of money. And even if they're not the exact same amount of money, it's like we're talking dollars of a difference here, that this one is so much more worth it than the Venus Trap one from Kaleidos. I'm just a Cheer Yep girl, guys. I really am. I don't love all their palettes, but this one is really good. This one is so good. And I'll swatch one. I don't really use the glitter black shade just because I would rather use some of my other blacks. But this like mauvey shade, oh, it has like a little bit of a hot pink sparkle, and it's just, that's my most used sparkle in this palette. This one is like the second most used. Cheer Yep really is like that brand. It really is. You don't have to get the special limited edition Dodonami version. You can just get the standard one. And then the standard one would come with this type of design. This is like the standard design. This one is it has an official name, but I just have it on the back as the Cheer Yep X Freya 86 collab, because this was the first collab palette that they did. They've since done a number more, so I should really put the number name of this palette on. This one gets a solid 3, only because I talked about it when I first used it. I don't know what about this palette made me think this was a blue color story. I know. I mean, I love blue eyeshadow. I haven't worn blue eyeshadow in a while though, but trust me, I love blue eyeshadow. So this one is actually very purple. The only type of blue that you get is in these gray shades. These are very blue-based grays. Everything else is like very purple, and it just gets a 3. Like when I use it, it is unique, but it's not something that, it's just, I'm in like a very middle ground with it, where I love the color story. Using it makes me happy, but it's not what I expected. So it's just like the middle of the road. Definitely happy giving it that. And then again, like one more time, the color stories here are so similar. The pink is a little bit darker, but the grays are in this one, and so is the sparkle shades, that it's like not necessary. Let me just swatch a silver so you can see. The consensus is really funny on those Kaleidos ones, because I'm not alone in feeling that way about the Kaleidos, and I know I'm not, because when I've seen the other videos of this type on YouTube here, that seems to be the shared emotion, is the Kaleidos palettes are your favorite palette, right? Like usually Kaleidos is the first cbeauty brand that a lot of people buy because they're everywhere, like they're in Urban Outfitters and stuff. So they're really accessible. But then when you go on to Yes Style or whatever, cbeauty mall, Look Healthy store, whichever is your preferred retailer, and you start to get into these larger color stories, you then realize how like basic and unfulfilling the Kaleidos palettes are. It's just an observation I've had. So if you haven't gotten into any of the cbeauty eyeshadow stuff yet, skip over those eyeshadow quads, because trust me when I say, the second you get into the larger color stories, you're never going to reach for that Kaleidos eyeshadow palette ever again, because you'll be reaching for the larger eyeshadow palettes. Okay, this is going to be like a half review, because in my head, these are single eyeshadows. This is not a palette. This is not in any way a color story, but this shade here is amazing. 5 out of 5. Can never live without it. You've seen her, you love her. I mean, absolutely insane. It's just insane. It is like, you can be looking one way in the grocery store and it's like, oh, she has nothing on her eyes. And then you're like radiating. Very quickly, 1 out of 5, never needed it. 2 out of 5, was really disappointed in the lack of blue pigment. 1 out of 5, didn't really need it. And then these are all just little things that I reach for every once in a while, so I'm not going to include those. Newest cbeauty eyeshadow palette is this Judy Doll all-in-one palette for your full face. Number 28, I think Smoked Wood, I do believe is the name. This is the color story. It is different than what it portrays itself online. It is a little bit more warm tone slash a little neutral. Like this is neutral, this is neutral, the sparkles are neutral, the contour is neutral. This is warm, and then this is like a neutral to warm. So it's not the same as the colors online, but I have it on my face today. It's really nice. In my recent trying K-Beauty, C-Beauty video, I talk more about this palette and my thoughts on it. I'm gonna give it a 4 because I do know that I have these colors already, but for the sake of, this was like a purchase for my YouTube channel. I used YouTube money for the channel to make that video. So this wasn't really my personal purchase to my personal taste. It's really nice, and this is going to come in handy when I do have to go to events where I do have to be a little bit more reeled back than my usual makeup. This is really nice for just like holding my hand, I would say. So it gets a 4 out of 5. I know I have shades that could fulfill this by bouncing through a bunch of different palettes, but this is just, it's really good at being a leash for me and forcing me to just use this palette to get whatever the look is for the day or night. That was a lot of words for a very easy explanation. I'm going to go into some indie. I don't have a lot of indie beauty strictly because a lot of the indie beauty brands are American and they don't cover shipping to Canada, and on top of it, the unknown customs and taxes upon delivery just doesn't make sense to pay almost triple the price to get it. So I only am interested in beauty brands that sell within Canada. Blend Bunny Cosmetics does retail in Canada. You can get it from Backstage Cosmetics, which is where I purchased mine, or I can't remember the other. I can never remember the other one, but I'll put it on the screen. Those are the 2 retailers for Blend Bunny within Canada, so there's no like surprises. It doesn't cross the border. The warehouse is in Canada, it ships within Canada. This is the Rotten palette. Duh. You've seen this a million times most likely because it's like a super viral color story. I would give this palette a 3 out of 5. I really like it, but again, I can't give it a higher rating than that because I don't use every single eyeshadow. And I knew I wouldn't use every single eyeshadow, and you would have to be watching me for a while to know how long I was thinking about buying this and yada yada yada, and the price and my rule for eyeshadow palettes. I did break my rule for purchasing this for buying eyeshadow. Very quickly, if you don't like at least 50% of an eyeshadow palette and its color story, don't buy it. You'll never use it. And then like if you have like 400 eyeshadow palettes, you shouldn't be buying eyeshadow palettes anyways. And that should be more like 100%. And being honest with yourself too. You gotta be real. So I just can't give this eyeshadow palette a higher rating than that because I don't reach for every eyeshadow color. I've never used the greens. I've never used Asper, this one, this orange. I think I've used this a couple times, but it's just like, I can't give it a higher ranking because there are so many colors in here that I do not reach for. Even though this fulfills a lot of colors that I don't have / don't want to constantly be making. And I think something that people need to consider for these types of big color story palettes. A lot of the time people don't want to constantly be mixing the eyeshadow shade, especially for powder shadows. You can get the ratio wrong, and then one color is one color and then the other side is maybe mixed with too much red, so then the shade doesn't match. So these types of palettes are helpful in that way, but not in the sense of a P. Louise 300 color palette. Like, that is stupid. Something where it does have these like in-betweeny shades is helpful for people that don't want to risk a mismatched color on the eye. 3 out of 5. A lot of talking. Next is a bunch of eyeshadow palettes from Viseart. I do have more in my like makeup storage over there, but I'm only ranking what is like personally right here that I can grab and reach for. So nothing in my little memory / storage area I'm talking about. So I'm going to start with this palette. This is the Koi palette. I do believe it is no longer available. It comes and goes every now and then. I don't even know if Viseart still does this plastic case. I think they got rid of the plastic case as well, which is such a shame because the plastic case is so good. I'm sorry if they don't sell this type of case anymore because this is just so handy. I would give this palette a 2 out of 5. It's not necessary, but having these on hand is really helpful for hyper specific reasons. So if you don't see yourself ever using this, don't look for it secondhand or anything like that. Again, I don't think I've ever used this shade. I barely touch these. I touch them maybe less than 1 time a year. This middle row I touch maybe 2 times a year. This bottom row, excluding the blue, I touch maybe less than once a year. 2 out of 5. It's one of those palettes that you don't need until you need it, and then you can decide for yourself if that's necessary. I know saying that, you know, it's a palette that you don't need until you need it sounds very redundant and like lazy. Viseart is one of those brands that's very makeup artisty, I find. So a lot of their palettes are going to be like that. This is another one. This is the mini size. This is the petite mattes in the dark colorway. Again, I'm giving this a 2 out of 5. I barely reach for it. I only reach for it for using these 2 colors. Maybe these 2 colors, but I find that the formula in this one is very different than the other matte formulas. This is very fallout, flaky, break aparty, but this was a very early PR from Viseart when they first started this, so I think it is probably fixed by now because this was many moons ago. I think this was 2023 I got this from them. Definitely not needed in my life, but I'm happy to have it for the very specific eyeshadow looks that I repeat when I use these 2 or these 2. But this whole side is like, I used these 2 colors for the first time, I think last year. These 2 I've never used. These 2 I've never used. Okay, next are basically like sister palettes. These were released at the same time. This is the Cashmere Charmeuse and the Violet Vespertine. These types of palettes are where Viseart has headed more and more in the recent years. So this one is like a little bit of a muted purple moment. And then the Cashmere is more of a, on my skin tone, this is like a smoky eye eyeshadow palette. I don't reach for either of them a lot. When I do use them, I get a lot of compliments on the eyes. So I would give these 2 palettes a 3 out of 5. They're definitely not necessary, but they are like special occasion color stories for me. Do make them really nice to own and to have. And I like the color stories enough that they're cohesive that I can just use this because there's so many eyeshadows in it that are like very different from one another. I still run the risk of like going a little bit too crazy maybe, and there's the risk there of not being held back. So these are really, really nice, but I have to use them with a lot of intention and thought, because these are sneakily intense color stories. They don't look like you're gonna look crazy if you get too excited, but you can look crazy if you get too excited. Okay, I have to change your battery. Bloop, 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 bloop. This Visart is the Visart Editorial Brights, a classic that every makeup artist ever has used. This one depends on where you're at in your makeup life, because I have blown through one of these, like hitting pan on multiple eyeshadows, but that was back in 2016. So it definitely depends on your makeup era. I'm gonna give this one a 2 out of 5. It's not anything that I reach for. I actually depotted the white and red in this. You already saw it with the Cheer Up shadows. This lives tucked away in the back of my drawer for like the less than one time a year that I need one of these super bright shadows, which is really sad because I have used up one of these before, causing me to repurchase it because they didn't sell single shadows back then, and these weren't replaceable pans back then, they were glued in. So it's really sad that Visart has become one of these brands to me that I'm just very blasé about, because it used to be pinnacle in my makeup. Like I used Visart every single time I did my makeup back then, and it's just a change in my makeup habit that honestly makes me really sad to see where they've fallen in my eyes with the ranking of this video, but it makes sense at the same time. This next palette is still Visart, but it's a little bit of Visart, and then we get into Western brands. So in this large MAC palette, these shades here are actually from the Neutral Mattes Visart eyeshadow palette. And the Neutral Mattes eyeshadow palette, I would give it a 2. It's actually way more warm than neutral, especially if you're fair. If you're tan, it probably is more neutral on you because your skin would, depending on your undertone, it would eat up any of the little bit of warmth that the other shades have. But that little bit of warmth in the other shades is like a lot of warmth on me. So that palette only gets 2 out of 5 because this palette replaced it. This palette is the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes The Neutrals, purchased when it was at a reasonable price, and it just had all the colors that I wish the Neutral Mattes was from Visart. So the Makeup by Mario, I'm gonna give the Makeup by Mario a 5 out of 5 because it was a life-changing, couldn't do my makeup without it type of palette. But I'm warning you, the new price that it's at, you have to get it on sale somehow, or secondhand maybe, if you're willing to run that risk of secondhand makeup, because with the formula, it's not worth the new price tag of these. It's just not. Makeup by Mario as a whole has been increasing his prices by like a lot every single year, and I think he's now no longer in a price range that his formulas make it feel like he's worth it. Okay, and then these 2 shadows down here I consider as single shadows. It's just, this is my YouTube, okay? I can think however I want. This is a palette, this is a palette, these are single eyeshadows. That's just how my brain works. Let's keep the Makeup by Mario train rolling. This Makeup by Mario palette is now available on his website only. And I don't know when that happened because I got mine from Sephora Canada. But this is the Master Metals palette. Comes with its own little mixing palette. So what you do is you can use it from the pan to your eye, but you can also liquefy these. So you just scratch, you can see my little scratch marks. You just scratch into the little mixing palette, and then you take any spray. I use Fix Plus. You put it in there. You can even use like Mavron mixing medium if you need it to be to your skin. It's so handy. I'm giving it 3 out of 5 because I never use these three shades. And again, this is a palette I reach for less than 2 times a year, I would say. But when I do reach for it, it is game changer. So again, this is just like a hyper specific palette that is not needed in your life ever. But if you were to get it and the days that you do use it, there's nothing like it. Isn't this the most confusing eyeshadow palette ranking ever? Isn't that fun? Okay, let's talk about Mother Dearest, Pat McGrath Labs. I have 3 palettes only of Pat McGrath Labs. I purchased all of mine on sale. You purchase them on sale. They are not worth full price. Okay, Black Friday, best time to buy. This is the 3rd one. 1 out of 5, not necessary, don't reach for it ever. It is really, really pretty when I do use it, but I find I only use it to make the same eyeshadow look. I don't really go out of my way to do anything super unique with it. I also don't like her highlight shades are always this like champagne-y color. You know, that golden champagne that always reflects like peach or yellow on fair skin. I don't know why she always includes them, but she does, so this shade never gets used. I have so much black eyeshadow, I don't even know what to do with it. That color is nice, this is nice, it's nice, it's nice, it's nice, it's nice, it's nice, it's nice. But to use it all together, I only ever do it to use this purple. This purple is really nice. My grade 8 graduation dress was this color. I wish I still had it, but I don't. It's so pretty, but a very difficult palette to work with. So if you like opening an eyeshadow palette and just using it, definitely like not one to even consider. The next one that I have is the 2nd one. Can you tell which ones I got? Probably. One, again, shouldn't have ever gotten it. This is so warm. And why would I get an eyeshadow palette with a green? Like, I'm just closing this because why? Look at my face now and look at this eyeshadow palette and then tell me, yeah, that looks like something you would be really into, because that's a lie. Regret that one. And then the last one, which is the only one I should have ever got, is the 1st one. The 1st one is the best one. 4. Giving it a 4. Because it still has the stupid like yellowy highlight shades that are always so impossible to work with. But this one is just beautiful. This one is gorgeous. This one is so easy as well to use because it does have a little bit more of these like matte and satin shades that make it a lot easier to work with. And I'll give you a swatch of the one shade we all care about. Well, the 2 shades we all care about. The 2 special shades in this are just so gorgeous. Like, it makes you want to cry. They're so pretty. This is the only one that I would ever recommend to you. I haven't tried any of the other ones because they're all so warm, or they're like that 3rd one where the color story is so sporadic. I know I would have a hard time using it within its own entity and not opening up this one. So who knows with how Pat McGrath Labs is going, if they're really going to hammer down and figure out the next few rounds of these motherships. It's one of those eyeshadow products that I really want to like throw my whole mind into, but the price of them really holds me back. Okay, we're coming down the home stretch. I have 2 more palettes in front of me. I told you I don't really own a whole lot. I'm going to talk about this one. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Denim Dimension. This was from last year, 2025, when Charlotte Tilbury came out with all of her beautifying eye trends 9 pans. There was like a bunch of different colors and they were all in their own little color family. 5 out of 5. Love this palette. Look, Charlotte, please release this in a single shadow. This one, I'm so excited. Oh, there's a pigeon outside. It's so pretty. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so icy. It's so beautiful. Should I put it on my eyes? Like, it makes me so happy. This palette is actually the blue eyeshadow palette that made me realize the thing that I hate about blue eyeshadow color stories is the teal, because this Charlotte Tilbury palette doesn't have a stupid teal in it. I thought I wanted the Hung Van Gogh blue eyeshadow palette because he was the next person to really come out with super colorful palettes like that. But when I swatched his palette, because it reminded me of this one, I was like, why do I hate the Hung Van Gogh one? And it was because there were 3 teal shades in that one, and this one has no teal. It's perfect. It's perfection. If you never got your hands on this, I'm so sorry you missed out. But this one is 5 out of 5. Gorgeous, beautiful, hitting pan, worth every penny. I'm only really swatching the sparkles for you because a matte looks like the pan shade. But this is the last palette that, again, is technically single eyeshadows. If you know me, you know what I'm about to talk about. My perfect palette. This is my custom MAC palette, quote unquote. Technically, this eyeshadow is Sephora. This is my perfect eyeshadow palette. So this is the palette that I built for my birthday in 2024. I have since replaced 2 eyeshadows in that palette. I have Coquette and She Sparkles. These 2 PR. Everything else I've purchased. I've depotted these from the single compacts. This is my perfect palette. Oh. Like, looking at this palette makes me so happy because I know my transition shades are there, my subtle highlight shades are there, a little bit of sparkle is here. If I need to deepen it, it's over here. I have a little fun pop of blue for when I need it. I have my silver, which I usually use on like my inner corner or at the very center of my eyes. This is my perfect palette, and I view this as a palette when I use it, when I'm thinking of palettes that I have. To me, this is a full-on palette. I don't think I have a video where I talk about this palette being with Coquette and She Sparkles, but I do have a full-length video about this palette, so I'll magically link it somewhere either down below or as a card. 5 out of 5. Obviously, with how excited I am to talk about it, it's a 5 out of 5. I built this palette. I birthed this palette. This palette came out of me. Not really, but it feels like I gave birth to it because I have been tweaking this palette for a couple years now. I still think I'm gonna add a 3rd dark shade in here just in case I don't need the brown or this slate color. Haven't really decided. I have hit pan in the matte white. I have a pretty serious divot going on in cozy gray. I have a divot going on in this white, forming in Omega, forming in Coquette. This bottom row is like for special occasions. So mostly this is what I use in this palette as like a daytime eyeshadow palette. And then at nighttime, I'll throw in some of these shades at the bottom. It's so perfect. It's so perfect. It's so perfect. And I basically made that palette for my birthday because I was loving the Makeup by Mario palette, but I knew the Makeup by Mario doesn't come in single eyeshadows, and I needed to be able to replace some of those colors that I was using a lot of. That was before I destroyed that eyeshadow palette by trying to depot it. That's why my Makeup by Mario looks like that. Don't try to depot it. It'll be a disaster. But I have my MAC palette, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Another reason why that Makeup by Mario isn't really worth it, because I can get the same vibes from my MAC palette. A lot. That's my little video of ranking my eyeshadow palettes. I hope this was at the very least entertaining while you like washed dishes or something. This was very how my head works and thinks, so hopefully this opens a little window into how I think about and do makeup on myself. And yeah, if you have any of those eyeshadow palettes and you disagree with me, I would love to know. Let me know if I gave one of your favorite palettes of all time a low ranking, because we all have different makeup tastes and different sized collections slash what you reach for. So, you know, let's talk. Let's talk about it. It's just makeup. We don't have to take it that seriously. That sums it up for this video. So if you liked this video, give it a like. It does help me when you do that, so I know that you actually liked it. If you liked me, thank you so much. Consider subscribing so I can pop up in your feed more often. You can also follow me on TikTok and Instagram. Both are Claire Cuckoo as well. Everything on my face will be listed in the description box down below as always. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.